Washington, D.C., January 27, 2026. In a day marked by escalating political controversy, international tension, policy pushback, and deepening public scrutiny, President Donald J. Trump remains at the center of a storm that continues to reshape American governance and global relations. From backlash over immigration enforcement to trade friction with key allies, midterm election politics to internal party divisions, today's headlines capture a presidency under intense pressure. Below, we unpack all the key developments, their background, expert context, and implications for the U.S. and the world. 1. Immigration enforcement crisis pulls Trump into a national firestorm. One of the most dominating stories today surrounds a fatal shooting in Minneapolis linked to a federal immigration operation, a flashpoint that has triggered protests, legal challenges, political controversy, and bipartisan condemnation. Federal immigration agents deployed under a Trump-initiated enforcement campaign have been accused of killing a U.S. citizen in circumstances that contradict official accounts. Videos widely circulated on social media appear to show the victim complying with agents when he was shot, an element that has intensified public outrage. Local and national fallout. Minneapolis mayor announced that some federal agents will begin to withdraw from the city amid rising tensions and public anger. Bipartisan calls for independent investigations are growing, with state and federal leaders demanding answers about the operation's legality and oversight. Nationwide protests have intensified, not only in Minnesota, but in urban centers across the U.S., drawing attention to immigration policy and enforcement methods under Trump's administration. Political repercussions. The incident has not just provoked grassroots protest, it's also prompted political backlash. Critics from both major parties have raised constitutional and civil rights objections, warning that aggressive internal enforcement tactics risk eroding trust in federal authority and exacerbating social fragmentation. The tension has also created intra-party distress, with some Republican lawmakers and advocacy groups pushing back against the administration's strategies, concerned about consequences for public safety and electoral politics. This crisis is one of the key drivers of the record-low approval rating for Trump's handling of immigration issues, as measured in today's Reuters Ipsos poll, showing just 39% public approval, historically low for any sitting president on a major policy front. 2. International trade shock, tariffs on South Korea and global markets in flux. President Trump's trade agenda made headlines again today as he signaled steep tariff increases of 25% on autos, lumber, and pharmaceuticals from South Korea, accusing Seoul of failing to live up to the terms of a previously negotiated trade deal. South Korea's response. South Korean officials responded swiftly, offering reassurances that the country remains committed to the trade agreement and seeking to avert a potential escalation that could disrupt U.S.-Korea economic ties and broader supply chains. Investors and markets reacted nervously as the dispute highlighted vulnerability in global trade relationships at a time of already elevated geopolitical friction. Analysts warn that broad tariffs could accelerate inflationary pressures domestically and shake confidence among allied trading partners. Expert perspective. Economists note that unilateral tariff actions without clear multilateral coordination risk retaliatory measures and could harm industries that rely on cross-border inputs. Some business leaders have already expressed concern that trade uncertainty may slow investment in manufacturing and technology sectors. 3. GOP turmoil. Trump and Senator Cruz clash loudly. In a dramatic political confrontation today, Republican Senator Ted Cruz revealed that Trump erupted in anger, using explicit language after Cruz warned the party faces a bloodbath at the upcoming midterm elections if inflation and economic issues are not addressed. Why it matters. This dispute indicates deeper divisions within the Republican Party, once seen as a unified political base for Trump's agenda. Internal disagreement over strategy and messaging ahead of critical elections could weaken GOP electoral prospects and complicate governance. Cruz's public remarks and Trump's vehement response reflect rising intra-party tension that political analysts say could lead to factional splits. 4. Academic uncertainty, impacts of Trump policy in higher education. A compelling new report from Yale Daily News underscores how, 1 year into Trump's second presidency, professors remain uncertain about the long-term implications of policy changes affecting federal funding, academic research, and campus operations. Key concerns include federal funding cuts targeting programs viewed unfavorably by the administration, potential new taxes on university endowments, growing unease among research institutions about federal oversight and policy-induced planning disruptions. This broader theme shows how Trump's influence extends far beyond headline politics into institutional arenas like academia, where effects may resonate for years. 5. Global security, U.S.-Iran relations in a delicate balancing act. Adding an international security dimension, President Trump said in an interview that Iran has signaled interest in negotiating with the United States as he has deployed a significant naval presence, described as a big armada, near Iranian waters. The context Trump's comments suggest a possible diplomatic opening after years of strained relations, raising speculation about potential talks on nuclear programs, regional stability, or sanctions. However, details remain vague, and the administration has not outlined a specific negotiating framework or timeline. Strategic implications. Experts caution that Washington's tough posture, combined with ambiguous diplomatic signals, could create confusion among allies and adversaries alike. A volatile Middle East policy could influence oil markets, defense agreements, and broader geopolitical alignments. 6. Cultural flashpoint. Trump takes aim at Super Bowl performers. In a more cultural front, Trump drew media attention by openly criticizing Super Bowl 2026 performers Bad Bunny and Green Day, calling himself anti-them in a televised interview. Why this resonated: both artists are seen as culturally influential and have been openly critical of Trump's policies in the past. Trump's remarks created a media spectacle as the Super Bowl is one of the most watched cultural events in the U.S., illustrating how entertainment and politics increasingly intersect. While not a policy matter, such comments shape public discourse and highlight the broader cultural battles framing American society. 7. Prosecutorial and legal legacy. A look back at Trump's legal battles. Though not directly a development today, context remains essential. Trump's earlier legal challenges and a federal court decision on presidential immunity continue to underlie political debates about executive power. A high-profile ruling affirmed that presidents have absolute immunity for core official acts, a decision that remains contentious among legal scholars and critics. This ongoing backdrop informs public and political interpretation of Trump's actions, especially as opponents argue for limits on executive authority. 8. Broader impact: economy, society, and governance. Today's events are not isolated headlines. They reflect structural tensions in American democracy. Economy, trade policy shifts, and tariff risks contribute to market volatility. Polls indicate waning public confidence in government economic stewardship. Society immigration enforcement controversies are fueling protests and civic unrest. Culture wars are playing out in mainstream spaces like sports and media. Governance intra-party divisions threaten legislative cohesion. Ongoing scrutiny of executive power continues in courts and academia. What comes next? Political analysts and U.S. insiders are watching several trends closely: the outcome of investigations into federal immigration enforcement, how the Trump administration responds to declining approval on key policy fronts, whether trade tensions with allies like South Korea expand or ease, what diplomatic channels might open with Iran, the effect of internal GOP divisions on midterm election readiness. Conclusion. Today's developments paint a complex picture of a U.S. presidency grappling with domestic unrest, political polarization, international friction, and cultural controversy. Whether seen as turbulent or transformative, Donald Trump's leadership continues to evoke strong responses from supporters, critics, and global observers alike, making every news cycle a significant chapter in U.S. political history. Full news feature: Donald J. Trump, a pivotal day in U.S. politics.